Welcome, brave souls, to the fire's flickering light, where shadows dance and whispers of the unknown drift on the wind. I'm Sam Hain, your guide through the eerie tales that haunt the darkest corners of your imagination. Tonight, we gather around the flames to uncover stories that will chill your bones, make your heart race, and keep you looking over your shoulder. From ancient legends to ghastly encounters, these tales are not for the faint of heart. So, stoke the fire, lean in close, and prepare yourself for a journey into the realm of the strange and the sinister. Are you ready to be afraid? Let the storytelling begin. The wind whistled through the cracks of the ancient stone walls as Max and his team stepped inside the Glencraig Castle. The place was everything they could have hoped for. Crumbling towers, dark corridors, and an eerie silence that pressed in on them from all sides. Max smiled to himself. Perfect for the show. "All right, team," Max said, rubbing his hands together. "Let's get this set up." Zoe, the tech wizard, unloaded her bag of gadgets onto a dusty table in the main hall. Small speakers, motion sensors, and wireless cameras were her tools of the trade. "Okay, here's how we'll fake the ghost stuff," she explained, arranging the gear. "We've got hidden speakers to make it sound like footsteps or whispers are coming from the walls. And the motion detectors will trigger cold gusts of air when anyone gets close to certain spots. We'll keep the audience guessing." Liam, the skeptic and resident cameraman, chuckled as he attached his camera to a tripod. "I'm telling you, people eat this stuff up. They don't even care if it's fake. They just want to be scared." Max nodded. "Exactly. We give them what they want. Fear sells." The plan was simple. Create enough eerie moments to keep their viewers hooked. Katie, the psyche, would be the emotional core of the episode. She'd act like she was sensing spirits, reacting to things that the others couldn't see. Her job was to convince the audience that something supernatural was really going on. Katie looked uneasy as she unpacked her tarot cards and crystals. "I'll do the whole 'I feel a presence' routine. But honestly, this place is creeping me out." "Just play it up," Max encouraged. "The more dramatic, the better." They split up to start setting the stage. Zoe moved quietly through the castle, placing small speakers in hidden alcoves and under furniture. She programmed them to play faint whispers, the sound of children laughing, or soft, echoing footsteps. The effect would make it seem like ghosts were right there, just out of sight. "Let's start with the haunted room scene," Zoe said, pointing to one of the castle's bedrooms. It had an old four-poster bed, draped in tattered curtains, with a fireplace that looked like it hadn't been used in centuries. Max grinned. "Perfect. We'll stage a classic ghost encounter here. We set up one of the hidden cameras near the door to capture Katie's psychic moment." Zoe wired the room so that when Katie said she felt a cold presence, she could press a small remote in her pocket that triggered the room's temperature to drop. Cold air would blast through the vents hidden behind the bed, adding to the illusion. Next, they move into the main hall, where the final scene would take place. Zoe placed motion sensors around the room that would trigger when someone walked past them, setting off eerie sounds. Chains rattling, doors creaking, or ghostly moans. The climax of their episode would feature the whole team gathered in the hall when, supposedly, a spirit would manifest. For this, they had a special trick. Max had arranged for a hidden projection device that would cast a faint, glowing figure onto the far wall. It was an old technique, creating ghostly apparitions through light and shadows. But when timed right, it could make it look like the spirit was materialising right in front of them. "When I give the signal," Max explained, "we hit the lights and our ghost goes up." Liam, leaning against one of the castle's massive stone columns, shook his head with a smirk. "This is all going to look so real. People will totally buy it." As they continued setting up, Zoe tested the effects. "Let's see how the sound works." She pressed a button, and a soft whisper echoed through the room, bouncing off the stone walls. It sounded like a child's voice was calling from the shadows. Next, she activated the motion sensors, which triggered a low groan, like an ancient door slowly opening. "Nice," Max said, nodding approvingly. "The timing is perfect. Now we just need to get our reactions on camera." Katie took her place near the fireplace, where she would pretend to feel the presence of an old spirit trapped in the castle. She glanced nervously at the painting of a long dead lord that hung over the mantel. "I don't need to act much," she muttered. "This place already gives me the creeps." "Save it for the camera," Max said with a grin. "We need genuine reactions." By the time everything was set up, the sun had dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the castle windows. The Halloween night had fully arrived, and the team was ready to begin their staged ghost hunt. Max took one last look around the castle's dimly lit main hall. The air felt still, heavy. The equipment was in place, the tricks ready to go, but as the camera started rolling, a strange feeling settled over him. It was as if the castle itself was watching, waiting. "All right," Max said, forcing a smile. "Let's give them a show they'll never forget." And with that, the team launched into their fake ghost hunt, unaware that soon they wouldn't need to fake anything. The real horrors of Glencraig Castle were about to begin. The castle was deathly silent as Max and his team moved deeper into the darkened corridors. The first staged encounter had gone off without a hitch. Katie's psychic episode had been convincing. The cold dust perfectly timed, but now as they gathered in the Great Hall for the grand finale, the mood had shifted. The air felt heavier, almost oppressive, and the flickering lanterns they brought with them cast long, dancing shadows on the ancient stone walls. Max glanced around, feeling a knot of unease form in his stomach. The castle had always been a creepy backdrop, but now it felt alive. "We're ready for the apparition scene," Zoe whispered, kneeling by her equipment to trigger the ghostly projection. Her fingers hovered over the controls, but something seemed off. The usual bravado was gone from her voice, replaced by nervous energy. Max waved the team into place, standing them around the room in a loose circle. "All right, on my count. 3, 2... Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. It wasn't the sound of any of their planned effects. The heavy oak doors they had entered through had slammed shut on their own. What was that? Katie's voice wavered. She stood by the fireplace, her face pale in the dim light. "That wasn't me," Zoe said, looking confused as she frantically checked her devices. "I didn't trigger anything." Max swallowed hard, trying to keep control. "It's just the wind. This place is ancient. Doors slam." But even he didn't believe what he was saying. The air had gone icy cold, far colder than any of their tricks could simulate. Liam pointed toward the far corner of the room, his hand shaking. "Max, there's something over there." Max squinted, eyes scanning the shadows. There in the corner, where the projector was aimed, but no one had turned it on, a faint, ghostly figure stood, almost transparent, with empty, hollow eyes that seemed to stare into their souls. It wasn't their trick. They hadn't activated the projection. Katie gasped, stepping back in horror. "That's not supposed to happen." Zoe shook her head, her voice trembling. "That's not our setup, Max. That's real." The figure moved, gliding silently toward them. It was barely visible, more like a shimmer in the air, but as it approached, the temperature dropped even further. Katie clutched her chest, gasping for breath. "I feel something. It's angry." Panic began to spread through the group. Liam backed away, eyes wide. "This isn't funny anymore, Max. What the hell's happening?" Max felt his heart race, every logical part of his brain scrambling for an explanation. It's got to be some kind of malfunction, but he knew that wasn't true. None of their equipment could create something this real, this cold, this malignant. The figure was close now, almost on top of them. Its outline flickered like a glitch in reality. And then it whispered, a low sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Leave or stay forever. Suddenly, one of the lanterns blew out, plunging half the room into darkness. Zoe screamed, stumbling backward, her hands shaking as she fumbled to relight it. The shadows grew thicker, more oppressive, and the temperature plummeted even further. We have to go, Katie stammered, backing toward the door. We have to get out now. Max spun around, racing to the door. He grabbed the handle, yanking hard, but it wouldn't budge. The door, heavy and ancient, felt as if it had been welded shut by some unseen force. It's locked, he shouted, pulling harder. It's stuck. Liam, now frantic, slammed his shoulder against the wood. Move, he yelled, throwing his weight into it again and again. But it wouldn't move an inch. It was as if the castle itself was refusing to let them leave. Zoe's equipment suddenly sparked, and the cameras they had set up around the room all flickered to life. The screens showed footage of the team, but in the background, behind them in the shadows, dozens of ghostly figures began to appear, their faces twisted in anguish, their mouths open in silent screams. Everywhere, Zoe whispered, her voice barely audible. The temperature dropped again, colder than anything they'd experienced before, and the air seemed to pulse with malevolence. Max spun around, just in time to see the ghostly figure from the corner, now only inches from him, its eyes empty black pits. He stumbled backwards, heart pounding in his chest. What do you want from us? He yelled into the darkness. The whisper came again, this time louder, more insistent. Stay. Stay with us. The castle groaned as if it was alive, the walls seeming to close in around them. The floor beneath their feet began to tremble, and from the corners of the room, thick shadows started to stretch toward them, moving like living tendrils of darkness. Katie screamed and clutched at her throat, gasping for air. I can't breathe. It's choking me. Max rushed to her side, but before he could reach her, she collapsed to the ground, her eyes wide with terror as invisible hands seemed to claw at her, leaving deep red marks across her skin. She was dragged into the shadows, her scream cut off in an instant. Get her! Zoe shrieked, but it was too late. Katie was gone. Panic gripped the remaining three as the figures closed in. The whispers were now a cacophony of voices, hundreds, maybe thousands, each one demanding to stay, each one filled with hatred and rage. Liam's face twisted with fear as he looked at Max. What did we do? What did we wake up? Zoe's hands trembled as she tried to activate one of the gadgets, anything to break the spell of the castle. This wasn't supposed to happen. None of this was real. We were just faking it. Max stood frozen, watching as the dark shapes moved closer, their hollow eyes filled with ancient malice. It wasn't supposed to be real, but the truth was undeniable now. Glencraig Castle had never been empty. The spirits within it had been waiting, hungry, vengeful, and now they had new souls to claim. We're not getting out of here, Max whispered, his voice breaking. It doesn't want us to leave, as the shadows enveloped them. The last thing Max heard was the sound of the castle's doors creaking shut, sealing them inside forever, and the whispers of Glencraig continued. And so, with the castle doors shut tight, and shadows thick as midnight, Max and his team vanished, claimed by the very spirits they had hoped to mimic. Some say that on a Halloween night, if you listen closely, you might still hear their faint, desperate whispers drifting from Glencraig Castle's ancient stone walls. Beware, dear listener. When the line between the living and the lost blurs, some may be drawn across, never to return. So if you ever find yourself near Glencraig on a cold October night, heed the warnings, and remember, sometimes the darkness is more than it seems. Happy Halloween, and may your night be filled with more treats than terrors, if you're lucky. So that you don't have nightmares, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Stay spooky.